दे दे इन आंखों का जाम कामिनी चैन गया खोया आराम कामिनी अरे कर दे प्रेमी पे एहसान कामिनी.
Oh yeah, that's my jam.
नाम जपू मैं सुबह शाम कामिनी.
Welcome everybody. I'm Ali the Kurta and I'm off the Keffiyeh. That's right, I said it. I'm Ali the Kurta and I'm off the Keffiyeh. That was once again our old pal Babukashan. I love this guy's stuff. I don't know if it's a man or a woman or it's a duo, but I love their stuff. And I thought they would be apropos for today's show. I'm Ali the Kurta and I'm off the Keffiyeh. Now, obviously, this is Joe the Shirts off the cuff, and I am making a play on my name with Arab words, and well, you'll get it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You'll get it, okay? For those of you who are wondering, a kurta is a traditional shirt worn by many Arabs, Middle Easterners, Southeast Asianers, Indians, from India, that being. And it is a long sleeve shirt, very on the stiff side. You've seen it. Look a lot like tunics, basically. You know, it's a long shirt. And a keffiyeh is not a cuff. A keffiyeh is actually a traditional headdress worn by men. You think, whenever you see those movies with the Arab guys, and they got they got like the scarf on their head with a band around it, so it like billows in the breeze. That's a keffiyeh. Not to be confused with a turban. Okay, that's a keffiyeh. The reason it's not off the cuff is because kurtas do not have cuffs. It's just one long sleeve that doesn't taper like us Western shirts do. It's just meant to be worn, and boom, it's comfy, and it's pretty nice, you know. Yes. Why am I talking about this? Well, I was thinking today, I've gone through Christianity. I've gone through Christianity, Judaism, in some respects, Catholicism. Don't even want to go to where the Mormons come from, but that's a funny story in and of itself. Actually, if you want to know more about Mormons, just watch South Park. You'll get more about Mormons than you'll ever want to fucking know in your entire fucking life. And I have talked a lot in the past about Jehovah's Witnesses, that being mostly because my mother is one, and is quite a bit of my family. I obviously am not. And today I thought, you know what? Let's talk a little bit about Islam and our Arab friends, because I got to tell you, there's a lot of them out there. And there's a lot of things that I wanted to investigate and maybe dispel, for myself. Like I said, a kurta, traditional shirt worn in Pakistan, Nepal, India, Arabia. I mean, it's all the rage in Sri Lanka, looks really comfortable to me, I'll tell you that right now. I mean, if I could wear those, like, the really long Arabian robes, they're called thawb or thawbs. The very long ones, the ones you always see in those Lawrence of Arabia movies, where there's long and flowing, and you have then you got the keffiyeh that the guys wear. It's all long and flowy, and it looks like they'd be hot as fuck. But in actuality, those robes work very well to keep the heat out. You may have noticed that more often than not, they wear very light colors, white, light blue, light green, that kind of thing, which helps to repel heat. And also because they do it in layers, they're actually insulating themselves against the heat, which actually helps to keep them cool. Another reason they tend to like drink tea in the middle of the fucking day when it's hot as fuck, because drinking the tea forces you to sweat, which gets your body to cool itself down, and thus you're not dying in a dry heat like a fucking oven. All right? These guys know their shit, okay? They've been out there in the fucking desert a long fucking time. Yeah, we're looking up stuff on our Arab pals and our Islamic pals, and we're going to go through them a little bit. Now, here's something that I didn't know up until today. We've all heard the term sheik. Sheik this and that of son of whoever, whatever the fuck. Sheik this, sheik that. Okay, but does anybody know what an actual sheik is? Okay. Sheik, the term sheik is actually an honorific title that is literally means elder. That's what it means. Sheik, elder. Sheik, viejo. That's what it means, okay? Actually, no. Viejo is not the literal Spanish translation for elder. I believe it's anciano. Anyway, but it also takes meaning as leader or governor, also known as the frontman of a tribe, the leader of a tribe. There are also chicas, which is the female form of chic, not chicas, okay? All right? We're not talking about that booty you be calling in the hood, all right? No, we're talking about chicas, who are female leaders within Arabic cultures. It also refers to those who have completed undergraduate studies in Islamic studies and trained in giving lectures in Islam. You know, so it really it's like think of it like sort of almost like like you're a doctorate almost. You know, you're a doctor of this, that, the other thing. You're a doctor of English literature. You're a doctor of Scientology. Who gives a fuck? But here, you're a sheik of Islamic studies. All right. Another thing that also, by the way, actually makes me a sheik in a lot of ways is a sheik. It refers to elders, but it also refers very specifically to men over 40. So if you see me, you can refer to me as Sheik Shirt, Sheik Joe the Shirt, Sheik off the cuff. You can because but they tend to reserve those for people that are actually of Islamic faith. The kurta, as I was telling you about, the long shirt that I was referring to, is also very similar to a tunic with lots of the same properties. Exactly the big difference between them is that a tunic, officially speaking, can be short sleeve. So maybe I should have gone with Ali the tunic, but I thought kurta sounded better. That's what I went with today. Anyway, moving right along, let's talk about other clothing in the Middle Eastern world, the Asian world, the turban. It's one of those things that is very, very traditional, thousands of years of history. Here's a few little known facts for you guys. There are actually 66 distinct versions of turbans. Turbans for everyday life, if you happen to be a herder. Turbans for a religious honorific, turbans for political office, turbans for to designate your political side that you're on, also for what religion you are, because not everybody that wears a turban is necessarily Islamic. I mean, they can also be a Hindu, they can be a Sikh, not to be confused with Sheikh, but a Sikh, and the differences between a Sikh and a Muslim are many and varied. We're not going to get into that today. But, turbans have been around a long, long time. And turbans also serve a very functional purpose in that, they help to protect the hair from getting mangled in those hot desert winds for a bunch of guys that tend to carry their hair a little on the long side. So, there you go. It's very popular all over the Arabian Peninsula, North Africa, South Africa, the Swahili coast, the Horn of Africa. I mean, just all over India. I mean, you can find a turban pretty much anywhere in the world, all right? And turban's color also tells you a lot about why the person is wearing it. For instance, the Prophet Muhammad from the Islamic religion is said to wear a white turban, which is known as the holy color. And then you have some guys that wear a blue turban, a light blue turban, which is said to be the color of the light blue or green, a light green, is said to be the color of paradise. So really, the color, the shape, the way it's wrapped can tell you a lot about the individual you are looking at. It's a, study. I studied a little bit, and I have this much information already. I've already filled up almost 11 minutes of this shit. Today's music is brought to you, once again, like I said, by Babukashan. His first song that I just played was Arabian Passion. So I'm assuming, maybe off on this, but I'm assuming that, they come from an Arab ancestry, which is why I chose their music today. That, and I think it kicks ass. I think it's a lot of fun. And I want to get into a lot of the stuff I read up on today. It's just fascinating stuff. If you ever wanted to know a little bit, and I do mean a very, very, very little bit about the Islamic religion, you found the right place. I'm not an expert. I just, went on Wikipedia and a few other websites and looked some stuff up to make sure that I had some idea what I was talking about. But just like when I spoke about Judaism and I spoke about Catholicism and Christianity in general, you know what? I'm not going to get everything 100% accurate. Some things are going to be lost in translation. Some things are going to be spot on. And I think it's good that we take an interest in these people because, they are in the news, perpetually in the news. You cannot turn on the news. You cannot go on your computer and check your news websites, or Yahoo or Google or whatever, and not see something that somehow involves these Arabic or Islamic or nations. It's there. Whether it's a war or a call for change in politics, whether it's cultural issues about sex or cultural issues about gender roles in general, and also whether or not it should be enforced on those that are born into this life. It's a very different kind of place than where we come from, kids. It really is. It's one of those things that, when you look at it from the outside, it looks strange and weird, just like everything else does, okay? They look at us, and we look strange and weird, and, and they're convinced, we should... You know what? I'm not even going to tell you what they believe, because that is not all of them. You know what? I'm going to take my first break right now on the early side, so that way I can really just dive into this, okay? I'm going to play more Babukashan, and his first song was Arabian Passion. This one is called, I'm going to really butcher this now, sorry, Babukashan. Uruna Boji Mui. I'm Joe the Shirt, I'm off the... No, I'm not. I'm Ali the Kurta, and I'm off the Keffiyeh. And I'll be right back. That's what I'm talking about. I'm Ali the Kurta, and I'm off the Keffiyeh. I know I sound disrespectful, and to many people I would be disrespectful sounding too, but that's not what I'm going for here. I'm really not. I decided that I wanted to, look into this for myself a little bit. I do not have any that I know of truly Muslim friends. I have some Arab friends, but they've been, a lot of them very thoroughly Americanized. including one chef I know. He's a Pakistani. And he's a great guy. I love this guy. You know, how many Pakistani do you know go surfing? But you know, he's a great guy, my buddy Ali, and which is why I chose Ali the Kurta, because in reference to him and in his honor, actually. And we're talking a little bit about Islam and all their culture. But before we get into that, let's do a little more regular news, just so I don't, you know, have all you older white people in the middle of the country going, "Oh, fuck this shit! I'm not going to listen to this Obama lover." No, let's do some simple news real quick here. Man killed chasing dog by train. Yeah, this is right here from Del Mar, here in California. A 75-year-old man trying to protect his dog was hit and killed by a train. The San Diego County Sheriff's Department said the man was walking his dog without a leash, which, by the way, is a little point of soreness for me there, because I am so sick and tired of you fucking idiots out there walking your dogs off leash. Once again, I'll say it again, I'll say it again, I'll say it again. You cannot predict an animal's behavior. I don't care how well you think your dog is trained, you cannot predict animal behavior. In any case, the Labrador became startled due to an oncoming train, and rather than run away from the train like a smart dog might, the fucker ran towards the train. And so then his owner, a 75-year-old dude, ran after him to try to stop him. And as he did, as he chased down the dog, he was hit by the train and was declared dead at the scene. The dog was not injured. Found by sheriff's deputy and returned to the man's family. Now, I'm sure when the man's family, got the dog back, they were like, "Oh, good God, you found JoJo! How wonderful! Oh God, that's wonderful. We were wondering where him and Grandpa were. By the way, where is Grandpa?" You know what? I keep telling people, I love animals. I really, truly do. But just like all those people that drowned last year because their dogs went into the water and the waves got really rough, and then they dove into the water after their dogs to try to save their dog, and then they drowned, and the dog made it. Let them go. At the very least, the dog knows how to do the dog paddle. Just let them go. Speaking of oceans, for those of you who enjoy nice oily fish, like, for instance, sardines. You may have noticed that the price of sardines are going up considerably. And the reason for this is because the sardine population is dipping like a motherfucker. We're talking about entire fishing boats going out, looking for sardines, paying, using up $1,000 worth of fuel and man hours, and then coming back with not a single fish. The reason for this, well, you know what? It's not our fault this time around. It's actually the fault of a very natural occurrence. It happens about every 20 years or so off the coast of California here, where colder waters come in along the California coast, which is great for some species because it brings in all these great nutrients and food, and some species just begin to thrive, and it's great for them. That's one of the reasons a lot of people notice a lot of whales coming through our hood here in California. Like twice as many as normal, actually about 3 times as normal, many whales coming through, migrating through California. But that same shift in the weather that's so great for some of the marine life is not good for sardines, and apparently sardines are getting close to an all-time low. One of the all-time highs was way back in 1936, where sardine harvest ran roughly more than 700,000 metric tons of sardine. In contrast to say 1949. Where in contrast to now, where commercial harvest limits are now cut by 70% because there's not enough sardines out there. Back in 1999, sardines exceeded 1 million metric tons for the first time since the 1940s. Now, sometime in 1967, there was a moratorium on sardine fishing because there just wasn't enough sardines. Part of that being our fault, but mostly due to, the environment. So if you like sardines and you notice they're getting a little pricey, there's why. And that's quite the segue into Islam, isn't it? Okay, let's talk about Islam a little bit. Islam is a monotheistic religion. For those of you who are not familiar with some terms, and I know a lot of you are a lot smarter than you look or sound or seem to be because you're listening to me, monotheistic means belief in one God, a sole God, as opposed to polytheism, which means a belief in multiple gods, like, say, the Greeks, the Romans, Indians, and also not to be confused with, say, worship of ancestors, as you would in... Damn it, now I can remember the name of that religion. Anyway, it doesn't really matter for our purposes here. Anyway, it's a monotheistic religion, meaning belief in God. One God, only God, nobody else exists, all right? And it's based on what is articulated by the Quran, which, by the way, up until today, I did not know was spelled Qur''an, Quran. Did not know that up until today. Which is considered the Word of God, also known as Allah, but it's known as the Word of God verbatim, okay? Unlike what some people believe about the Bible or other religious texts, the Quran is considered word for word, exactly the way it was said. That's the way it's written, okay? Verbatim. These are God's words. Not open to interpretation, not open to, circumstances. This is how it is, all right? Now, what I think is and by the way, sorry, excuse me, I burped. Islam, the religion, is somebody that is an adherent of Islam is known as a Muslim. So you believe in Islam, but you're not an Islamist. You're a Muslim. Okay, which makes sense to me. Unlike, say Christianity, where you're called a Christian, or Judaism, where you're called a Jew, here, if you believe in Islam, you're a Muslim. Okay. And by the way, not ignobly known as a towel head by you fuckers out there, okay? That's a very bad word. I don't like that word. I use it, it's fun. I know, I'm very self-contradictory. I know that. I use offensive terms all the time, but it's an ignoble term. Now, the Islam is considered to be what they refer to as a primordial faith, meaning that they believe that sooner or later, one way or the other, the true faith, the true God, reaches out to all of us in one way or another, many times by their prophets throughout the world. Among those prophets, Adam from the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve, Noah, Abraham, Moses, and Jesus are all considered prophets by Muslims. Now, whereas in Christianity, Jesus is believed to be the most important, Muslims believe that it is Muhammad, the most important of all the prophets. He brings the word of God to you, and we will get into that in a little bit. Now, most Muslims typically can be factioned off into one of two factions. There is the Sunnis, which represent 75 to 90% of all Muslims, and the Shia, also known to some people as Shiites, which represent 10 to 20% of all Muslims. Now, many of you may be thinking, well, what do I give a shit about how many Muslims there are out there? Well, let's think about this. Muslims, people that follow the Islamic faith represent 1.57 billion people on the planet, also known as 23% of the Earth's population. So 1 in 4 people on this planet is a Muslim, believes in Islam, prays to Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet, okay? So let's try to keep that in perspective for all of us out there. It is the second largest religion in the world and the fastest growing religion in the world. So don't ever discount them, okay? Now, according to Islam, God is described in chapter 112 of the Quran. This is a quote. I wrote it down, and I'm going to read it. Quote, "Say he is God, the one and only, God the eternal, absolute. He begetteth not, nor is he begotten, and there is none like unto him." So that's it. That's all, which actually does fall in line with Judaism. You know, the Jewish faith believes in the one God. They don't believe in any other types of gods or any other type of relations to God that are a part of him or equal to him in any way, which is why a lot of times Judaism and Islam are going to have issues with Christianity, especially those Christian sects that believe in the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Ghost, and the Holy Ghost, the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, or the Holy Ghost, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Okay, because in a Trinity, it almost sounds like polytheism. You know, belief in multiple gods, or maybe even a pantheon of gods. There's the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, which puts them almost, in a lot of ways, on equal footing, whereas in Islam or Judaism, no, there's only one guy. Everybody else, no. You know, hey, look, Muslims believe in Jesus. They do. They just don't think he was the Son of God, just like the Jews. The Jews believe that Jesus existed. They thought he was a prophet. They thought he was a rabbi, actually. But they didn't believe he was the Son of God. Okay? Now, God is described as Al-Rahman, also known as the Compassionate, or Al-Rahim, the Merciful. The purpose of existence, for you to be alive, for you to be a human being on this planet, there's only one purpose, according to Islam, and that is to worship God. That's it. That's all. You know what? You go to work, you get married, you have a family, you start a business, you have a few hobbies, maybe you write a few screenplays, maybe, whatever it is you do, it's all secondary. Your main purpose in existence is to worship God. That's it. That's all. Everything else, is secondary, including your family, your wife, your kids, your mom, your dad. Everything else is secondary. God is first. Now, what I find, which my disagreements with this, as better than anybody else does, if you're listening to me. But what I find very interesting about this is that in Islam, God is considered a very, very, to them, God is very, very personal. They do not need, say, a clergy like Catholicism does, or Protestantism does, or even as Judaism does. They don't need priests, they don't need rabbis, they don't need these guys. I mean, they have things like imams, which are religious leaders, to help you out, but they're there to teach. But for them, your relationship with God is very, very personal. I mean, you may go to the mosque, you may pray in public, you may learn from your imam, but first and foremost, your relationship with God is yours and nobody else's fucking business. Now, what I found very interesting about Islam, what I learned about it, is that it holds, obviously you've already noticed that it holds a lot of similarities to Judaism. It also holds a lot of similarities to Christianity. And we're going to get to that right after this break. This is more Babu Kashan and his song, O Nagor. I'm Joe the Shirt. I'm off the Kurta. No, I'm sorry. I'm Ali the Kurta, and I'm off the Keffiyeh. We'll be right back.
যে অবলা নারী ও বন্ধু মুই যে অবলা নারী ও বন্ধু পরিমু আকেলা
Oh yeah. Oh Nagor. Ali the Kurta is off the Keffiyeh. That's right. You heard me. Okay, just for, you know what? I know I'm being disrespectful in a lot of ways, but you know, I have to tell you, I'm not being any more disrespectful than I have been to any other religion out there. I despise religion in every way, shape, and form, but I do find it fascinating, you know. So, praise be. All right, before we get back into our little lecture on Islam today, hope you're enjoying it. I know I am. Let's talk about some other news. How about some sports news? Yeah, let's talk about that. For those of you here in Lakerdom, in Lakertown, in L.A., Kers, you may have noticed that the Lakers have been sucking it hard, sucking it long, sucking it deep, and swallowing while somebody's holding on to their ears. Yeah, that's right. That's the Lakers right now. Interesting development with Kobe Bryant and Steve Nash, who are being paid way too much money for what they're not doing, which is playing. So far, Kobe Bryant and Steve Nash have only played 6 games before being put on the injured list. Now this is coming after Kobe Bryant got $25 million to play this year. Yeah, and he got it like a big bulk payment up front, and then getting signed for another like $46 million for the next 2 years. Yeah, an injured middle-aged player. Lakers just paid almost $75 million for. Yeah, that was a good idea. But there is a little light at the end of the tunnel. Due to the rules within the NBA and their medical insurance, the Lakers may actually have a little salary cap space at the end of the year if Steve Nash and Kobe Bryant do not play at least 41 games. What happens then is, if they fail to play, if they fail to play at least 41 games in the season, then medical insurance actually pays 80% of their salary. Yeah, it's a wonderful little loophole that I didn't even know about. Now, what does this mean for the Kobe Bryant and Steve Nash? Well, for Steve Nash, let's see, if Steve Nash doesn't play a full 41 games throughout the year, that means that the Lakers get back $3 million of the $9.3 million that they dished out for him. And if Kobe Bryant misses 41 games, of the $25 million that they paid him this year, they get $10 million back from medical insurance. I'm like, bravo. In other sports news, still related to the Lakers, Kobe Bryant has asked everybody that's voting in the All-Star game to vote for somebody else, not him. He's injured, he's old, he's not going to play in the All-Star game, so vote for somebody else. Let's see, in China, going back there real quick, China is targeting meth labs. I didn't realize it was a big problem in China, but according to this, let's see, more than 3,000 police officers equipped with helicopters and motorboats descended on a village believed to be responsible for a third of China's crystal meth production, seizing 3 tons of the drug. 3 tons of crystal meth. My buddy Dre down the street's got more than that on him. Fuck that. Big deal. Now, if you happen to be Canadian, I know, world news, you gotta love it, you must be proud of Rob Ford. Toronto's mayor has decided he's gonna run for mayor. Now, for those of you who don't know this, Rob Ford is the Toronto mayor who was stripped of his authority in office and shamed around the world for smoking crack and hanging out with criminals. He declared that he is going to run for mayor yet again of Canada's #1 city because he feels that he's the most equipped for the job. When asked about his crack smoking and hanging out with criminals, his actual quoted defense was, I was drunk out of my mind. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm like, really? That's what you came up with? I was drunk off my ass. That's why I was hanging out with criminals and smoking crack and buying crack from them, But it sounds crazy, but you know what? Here in the United States, if Marion Barry can do it, Rob Ford can do it. Anyway, back to Islam. One of the things that the Islamic faith has in common with Christianity is a belief in angels. Let's see. They believe in angels, also known as malak or messenger. Angels have no free will of their own, which I found interesting. Again, much like in the Christian faith, free will is a big deal for humanity, but angels themselves do not have free will and are obedient and worship God because they have to. There's no choice for them. It's inbred into them, apparently. Let's see. They have been described as being beings of light or as beings of light with wings, anywhere from 2 to 4 to 6 pairs of wings. And heaven, the idea of heaven, which the Islamic faith does share with Christianity, is for them ecstasy in God's presence. Just being near God is all heaven needs to be. And that when the time comes, end of days comes, all will be judged. And according to them, if you have one atom of goodness in you, you will understand this. And if you have one atom of badness in you, you're not going to heaven. All right. Islam also believes in the 5 pillars of Islam. Now, these are obligatory acts that all Muslims must do, with a few exceptions, assuming that you're capable of doing it. Okay, let's go with a couple of these. Let's go with all of them, actually. The first pillar of the Islamic faith is testimony. Now, testimony is not about, somebody asks you a question and you tell them the truth. It is about avowing, saying what it is you believe. It's an oath, basically. And the oath goes like this. It's called, quote, I testify there are no deities other than God, and I testify that Muhammad is the messenger of God. This particular, end quote. This particular testimony is known as the Shahada. Hope I didn't butcher that too badly. The next pillar of Islam is known as prayer. We all know what praying is. Now, for them, it's known as Salat. And for them, prayer is done 5 times a day, but only if it is safe and reasonable to do so. I mean, if you're in a war zone, going out and getting on your knees and praying out loud is not the way to go. You might get shot. Third pillar is alms, also known as zakat, Z-A-K-A-T, which is a set amount of charity that is put aside to help the poor, to help in rescuing kidnapped victims, to help your family that needs it, to help your village, to help in restoring your mosque. And for the non-poor, this is a set percent set at 2.5% of your capital assets, not your earnings, your assets. Whatever the fuck it is you're worth. If you're worth, $1 million, it is expected. I don't even know how much is one was that about $25,000 you have to dish out. That's what you're totally worth. $1 million, boom, $25,000 has to go out to the zakat. Now, you're thinking to yourself, well, that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you think about it, when you think about the fact that there are about almost 1.6 billion Muslims on the planet, zakat, in conservative notes, accounts for 15 times more money given to charitable needs than the entire rest of the global humanitarian efforts. So Muslims, 23%, set aside 15 times more money for charity than the rest of the planet combined. Another of the pillars is fasting, also known as Sawm, S-A-W-M, of Ramadan. This is a fasting, a no eating, no drinking, and also a abstaining of other things that you might be doing that you might normally do, that you do this for a month, for the month of Ramadan, from dusk till dawn. Exactly why, I'm not sure right now. I didn't go into it because I'm limited in time here, okay? And but the fifth pillar, known as pilgrimage or Hajj, Hajj, it is believed that every able-bodied Muslim who can afford it, that's a very nice little caveat there. That's nice. If you can afford it, must make a pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca at least once in their lifetime. I do like the idea that it's like if you can afford it, if you're able-bodied. We don't want, crippled homeless people in New York trying to make a trip to fucking Mecca, all right? You're probably not going to make it. Other cultural things I found out, you may know of. For instance, when it comes to the ingestion of food, they're not allowed to eat pork, no blood products, which is also, by the way, something they have in common with Jehovah's Witnesses. Not allowed to eat blood, not allowed to take blood transfusions. No eating of carrion, which is an animal that's already dead. They are only allowed to eat animals that are considered vegetable eaters. Not like you can go off and eat a dog. Not a good idea. Or an animal that was raised for the purpose, or animals that you may have hunted down, but also, again, herbivores. And of course, no alcohol. I don't know why yet exactly. I'm going to look into that. I'm going to look into that. Why no alcohol exactly? Because I do some of my best work when I'm fucked up. And let's see, Muslims, much like Jews and most Catholics I know of, are get circumcised. And the term that you may have heard all of your life, Assalamu alaikum, means peace unto you. It is a greeting that you meet somebody. It's like a verbal handshake. Assalamu alaikum, peace unto you. All right. And then there's the term jihad, which actually has a lot of mixed meanings. A lot of people hear the word jihad, they think a bunch of towelheads are just going to rain death and fire on all of us. And again, towelhead, ignoble. Don't say those words unless you happen to have a web radio show. You can say that. But yeah, a jihad is actually a more basic definition of it is a war with oneself, a war to better one's self, to better serve God, to get yourself right with God and His plan for you. Of course, some people have taken it as a military exercise, a war against everything that's not Muslim. And then the final thing that I found most interesting about this is the concept that in Islam, they believe that everything is predestined. It's preordained. God knows the plan. God knows exactly how everything is going to work out. And everything works out exactly the way it does because God says so. That's it. That's all. And at the same time, they believe in free will. They believe that man has the capacity to make his own decisions in order to make things right with himself and his God. Which, again, I keep thinking kind of takes that whole predestined, preordained thing out of the picture. It's just like I've always thought it's either one or the other. I guess that's a problem with omniscience, okay? In any case, thank you for listening. That was my show today. Our music today was brought to you by Babu Kishan. His last song, Diwana, is coming up. And I'm Joe the Shirt, and I've been off the cuff. Or, said another way, I'm Ali the Kurta, and I'm off the Keffiyeh. Thank you, and thank you for listening. Take care, guys.
दीवाना 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 ओ तेरे इश्क में पागल होइबे तोहे साथ उड़ा ले जेबे दीवाना 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 दीवाना